Hello and welcome back to the channel. Okay, we've not been round for a few weeks because there's been so much on, which we'll get into in a moment. But first, let's introduce the famous or infamous Red Dead Panda. Red Dead Panda, are you there?
Hello. No. Hi, yes I am. I am. How are you, Elite?
I'm good. I'm doing really good. Yeah, we've both been sort of busy doing our own stuff for the past 2 weeks, haven't we? You've been sort of
Oh
travelling
my god,
around,
yes.
just chilling out, max and relax on call and playing with people outside of school. Um, no, tell us what you've been up to.
Basically, been crazy busy. So on the weekdays, like I spend 4 hours of my day traveling, so I don't have time to do any videos or anything. And on the weekends, I've had like for the past few weeks not a single weekend to myself, so I've been like doing more renovations. Apparently, New Zealanders are very DIY and like can do it yourself type attitude to life. So I've just been like helping like paint the inside of one of my parents' properties because they're wanting to rent it. So I've been making it rentable or look rentable. So that's what I've been doing. And then in my spare time, when I have been able to get home and do stuff, I have been playing some Mass Effect 3, and then some Gears 5, but I'm gonna start playing some Division 2 because I love that game. I haven't really played much of it. So I really wanted to play it in 60 FPS, and now I can on the Series X. So my sister and I are gonna play the Division 2 sometime. Elite, do you play the Division?
Oh, twice I've tried to get into it, but I couldn't. I just couldn't. It
It's got
was.
multiplayer to it.
I know it's multiplayer, and though I like that aspect and I like the co-op in it, it was just far too grindy for me. With
Oh, fair
not
enough.
with not much reward, I felt personally. And
Well, I would. I'll just say if we were playing and we went into a dark zone, I would totally turn on you and steal your stuff.
oh yeah, but that is the other thing with the division as well. I've heard loads of bits can be quite sort of
Yeah.
ruthless. Um, Yeah,
What have you been up to, Elite?
I've not been around because I got a new job. I actually got a job during this whole COVID thing, and a much better job now. So I
Whoop,
get
whoop.
it includes loads of freebies like a car, and
Congratulations.
yeah, they're paying for everything basically for me. So I'm doing really well, and booked a holiday to Mexico for next year. So everything's up and coming for me too. But yeah, so we finally made it here to talk about
Yep,
gaming. So
I know. Well, where can we find you, Elite,
oh,
before we
yeah,
start this
you can
off?
find me here. You can only find me here on YouTube, here where this link is. Still not on Twitter. People get asking me why I'm not on Twitter. I'm still not on. Watch my video while I'm not on Twitter, but I'm not on Twitter. I don't think I'm going to get into Twitter.
He's on Discord. He's
I'm
got a
on
Discord,
Discord.
which he will pop the link in the chat. I
Yeah,
mean, in the chat,
we
in
need to
in
we
the
need to get our.
description.
We keep talking about getting our Discord channel onto there so people could join us, don't we? We need to do that. That's what we need to do. But yeah,
I
so I'm
need to
on
send you the.
Discord. I'm on YouTube. Yeah, we need to put a link in. But more importantly, Red Dead, where can we find you?
In the middle of nowhere, apparently, Middle Earth. Living my best life in Hobbiton. No, I'm kidding. Um,
Yeah.
uh, so you can find me on Twitter at Red Dead Panda 1, and that's the number one. I have been a little less active than usual, but I am upping my frequency now. But I am there, so feel free to DM me, say hi. Um, I'm happy to engage in conversation. I'm not about tearing our community down because I think there are enough people out there who already do that for us. So
Yeah.
we don't need more on that front. I have been super slack on YouTube, so part of it is just because right now my schedule at work means I am never home, and when I do get home, I have like an hour before I have to actually go to sleep. So I haven't had much time there, but I am getting some of my weekends back to myself, so I will start posting. I'm gonna try and see if I can get something up this weekend. If not, it'll definitely be next weekend, unless some unforeseen thing comes out of it. But you can find me on YouTube at Red Dead Panda Gaming, and you can also find me on Xbox at Red Dead Panda 871. Um, I'm always got it on whether I'm watching Netflix or something else. I generally always have it on in the background. when I can. Yeah, but that's where you can find me. You can find me in way more places than you can find Elite.
Yeah,
Elite.
I'm nowhere
Hey, did you
and
watch
everywhere.
WandaVision?
Did I
Have
watch
you
what?
watched Wonder
No, I've not watched
WandaVision?
it. No, because I've been working. I've got my new job and I'm trying to impress. So I've just not done it. I've not
He's a
even
fraud,
gamed for.
guys.
Yeah, I've not even
All I heard
gamed.
in that him saying no is he's a fraud.
Don't ruin it. No, no spoilers. I need to. I'm going to catch up
Don't
tonight.
ruin
Literally,
the
I'm going to catch
illusion.
up. I'm going to catch up. Yeah, don't ruin. I'm going to catch up tonight. What I did do is
You
downloaded Wreckfest yesterday, so I need to start playing that. You heard about the Game Pass, that Wreckfest?
I have heard of it.
Yeah.
It's I have heard of it, but I can't like nothing's coming to mind. Like I'm thinking, is it that driving game where you like run into each other and kind of beat each other up around the track?
Yeah, yeah,
Is that
yeah,
Wreckfest?
yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought it was that. I haven't played it,
Well,
but
it
it's
looked
on Game
fun.
Pass at the moment.
It looked lots of fun. So I think I'm gonna download that and give that a go. And I'll probably play it, record it, and throw some of the gameplay into this podcast when it goes live. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So should we get on to the first topic anyway?
Yeah, we should actually. Yeah, we should. All right. So yeah, let's start our first topic because we've been rambling a little bit. But before we do that, I just want to say if you are listening, please pop in the comments that Elite needs to do his microphone before the next podcast.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
Peer
Thank you very
pressure,
much.
guys. It will work in this
It
case.
does. I'm just so
Um,
lazy.
he still hasn't done it.
So I've still got so much to do to my games room. I got a computer room and I need to do stuff to it and I can't be bothered. Plus my cat keeps pooing in it, which doesn't help. He just likes pooing in my games room. I just to annoy me, I'd imagine. But anyway,
Topic today, we're going to talk about state of play. So everyone watched the most recent state of play from Sony. They showed off 8 games, and I was actually kind of surprised they showed off 8 games. I
8 games.
was
That is
expecting it to, yeah,
incredible.
I was
Next gen.
expecting to be smaller. Well, my prediction was, and I mentioned this on Twitter to someone. I said that I am expecting stuff that we are already aware of, that we've already seen too much about, that's not going to be anything major. And then there might be one or two trailers that we find out new information for a game, and then it's going to blow the PlayStation fan base's minds, and then it's going to be like, this is better than what's in whatever they like to say, because they are
Yeah.
always like,
Yeah.
better than E3, or Xbox's E3, or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, it actually, exactly what I just said happened.
Mm.
Heaps of games we're already aware of, and that's to be expected. Xbox's one will be the same when they show some stuff off, but we know that there's a lot holding back because of that acquisition from Bethesda. I mean ZeniMax.
Can I
But
slide
let's start
in?
off with go
Well,
for it.
I want to slide in with a statement and a couple of questions. Firstly, my statement is the thing I find from a lot of the Sony uh, gaming events, especially recently, well, at least the past year,
Mm.
is they all just mimic each other. They also just seem to
You mean they're
show
lackluster?
they copy paste what happens in the last show. So I think pretty much what they showed was a copy paste of their PS5 reveal. I'm pretty sure they showed all. Oh, I wouldn't say all the games because they showed more in the PS5 reveal, but they showed pretty much the same games that are in the PS5 reveal. They showed really
This
nothing
is like the
new.
first time we haven't seen oh my god, Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah,
That was the one thing. If I saw another Ratchet and Clank thing, I was
yeah.
gonna like blow my brains out. I wasn't, but I was gonna be like, you can't do that. So I am pleasantly surprised they didn't show
But
that. But
that's
sorry, I interrupted. What were you saying?
but on top of that, well, no, it's nice that you said that because that leads on to my next question is, firstly, what first party AAA games did they show? Secondly, what exclusives did they show from that show?
Two,
Because that has been the
three.
leading factor for PlayStation fanboys since forever.
Well,
Exclusives. So
it's hard to actually confirm because like and we'll discuss this later in the show. But is there really any PlayStation for like exclusives now? When you think about it,
well, I've
but
had
it
this
was really
debate with
hard
lots of
because
them,
like we know
and
that there are some timed exclusives.
yeah,
And then the way the wording is done, like you're not really 100% sure what is exclusive and what is
no,
not anymore.
and they're very misleading.
Because they're so misleading. Like they go back and they like put a like I think it was their last one that they did,
Mm,
and it was like Demon Souls, and
yeah,
it said also come like available on PC or whatever
yeah,
it said. It was mentioned it was coming to PC, and then they came out and said, "Oh, mistakes. That shouldn't have been like that. It's only coming to PlayStation."
yeah.
But no one believes PlayStation anymore. They are like,
No,
well, if now we think
it
it's most
will
likely
come
going to
to
be coming to
PC. Yeah, it will
PC.
come to PC.
Yeah, it
They're
will, and
just
we'll
lying.
discuss that
Yeah,
later. But that's the messaging. Like we don't know. Like Xbox is very clear around their
yeah,
messaging with this is a console exclusive, this is a timed exclusive, this is a world
yeah,
premiere, no one's seen this before,
yeah.
um, type thing. They might not be specific around like how long it's timed exclusive, but you know that it's coming to more platforms. They don't have to say which platforms, but you are very aware of the fact that it's not a
Sony.
specific Xbox exclusive, or if it's a console exclusive, you know it's not going to PlayStation.
Yeah. So, because what
Um,
I was gonna say that the thing I think which is really or horribly misleading from them, which none of the media or no one of their fan base seems to be touching on, is that they sold PS5 on the premise that you're gonna get Gran Turismo 7 and God of War this year. But now we know
oh,
both of them are delayed to
we've totally
2022.
got off subject.
Yeah,
But yes,
which we
that's
knew.
never happening. I think you'll get Horizon
But more
Forbidden
shockingly,
West.
they didn't because they didn't even show them at State of Play, which is what a lot of people were going to see some gameplay at State of Play of God of War. Still nothing. Complete
I
silence.
thought that with God of War you might actually get a proper trailer or at least a
Exactly.
sneak peek of like the art, like because you know what the God
Yeah.
of War the original God of War for this
Yeah.
reboot looks like. I thought they might at least show some screenshots of like art style or
Which is
I mean just to
which.
kind of confirm like what they're doing. But they're
Yeah.
not. There's nothing.
Which tells me
You
two
still only
things.
have Ragnarok and the symbol.
Which tells me two things. One, that the game is actually much further out than what they're letting on. They've just said
Or they're holding
2021
back.
to sell PS5s, so we're not probably going to see the game till 2023 or 2024. It's much further out because they only showed
I
a
reckon
title,
it's
just a
I
title.
reckon it's 2022. I reckon it's coming out 2022. I
Then
think they're holding back because
the
I think they don't 100% know
do you think they're waiting
what
for the
Xbox has
Zemax?
in the cards with the
Yeah,
23 studios. They've
this
got 23 studios.
this could be that. It could be that if Sony are being sly, or it could
Or
be,
they're
as I
wanting to
said,
go
that
state
they've
of
got
play are
nothing.
smaller things,
Yeah.
and the big things are going to be their
And
E3
it's not
reveal.
doing them
But
favours
yeah,
because they've already not revealed enough games. Because Xbox have revealed like far more games so far, confirmed and revealed far more games than Sony. PS
I
exclusive,
think we're.
I can go for the exclusives basically to PS5. All they revealed is Ratchet and Clank and Gran Turismo 7. Because God of War's
Which
not
is
even,
delayed.
yeah, which is delayed. God of War's not even being confirmed to PS5 exclusive, is it? They didn't say.
No, I don't think it will be a PS5
I don't think
exclusive.
so.
I think they're gonna. I think it's gonna release next year.
Yeah,
God of War Ragnarok, and I think they're going to make it very clear about the difference between the PS5 and the PS4 version.
yeah.
It's definitely not going to be a
PS5 exclusive.
PS5 exclusive. I think they'd be stupid to leave money on the table for that reason.
Whereas off the top of
Um,
my head, Xbox Series X has 8 first party uh, Xbox Series X exclusives. So I won't name them. I won't go into it. I can write them in comments if anyone wants to question me on it. I can put it in the, but I won't go into
I
it now.
think that's why Sony's being so aggressive with how they're doing their timed exclusivity deals
Yeah,
and such, is
which is horrible.
because Microsoft has so much coming
Yeah,
and they have to really be smart about how they play things out because they need to keep their fan base very engaged and everything. And I think that's fair to any fan base because you and I both are big Xbox fans. We believe
yeah.
Green. Um,
Which I
but I think
understand
that's
that.
fair with any fan base. You have to be smart about how you play it out and
Yeah,
engage
I agree.
with them and tease them and those sort of things. But I feel like
But misleading. But they're
there
misleading.
are a lot of games coming out for Sony in the next couple of months.
Yeah,
Some are AAA, some are not so much AAA, but there are games that I know that their fan base really love because I think they know their fan base quite well around the games that they can offer them, and um, that's really a great example of what they've been building with their own ecosystem and the games that they release because they know what to expect. But what to expect is like Xbox is doing the opposite. Like what to expect from Xbox is you're a gamer, you like games, come play here. We've got everything that you can think of because Sony doesn't really have multiplayer games.
No,
I don't.
doesn't. Yeah.
And there's that huge community of multiplayer people who
Yeah.
do that. But they have those they have those timed exclusives like Destiny and Destiny 2 and things like that to try and show, hey, we've got this multiplayer side of things.
Which have now
You
jumped on
can
board
go pay
Xbox
into it.
Destiny,
Yeah.
which is the funny.
Um,
So we've sort of gone off a bit here. Should we go? Got you? Yeah,
Let's
we
get
always
back
do
to
it.
reality, guys.
I tell you what,
You and I go off on tangents all the time.
we do it for a
Okay, so
podcast.
they announced 8 games.
Yeah, go.
The first game that they showed off was or announced. I say announced. It's not actually 8 games they announced. They showed 8 games. So they showed Crash Bandicoot 4. What's the one for that? Something time. I can't remember the actual name. But they talked about the PS5 version, and they talked about making sure that these developers. Yeah, it is multiplayer. They talk about how the developers are really taking advantage of the DualSense and the haptic feedback and the triggers and those sort of things. And I'm like, cool. I'm actually quite impressed that they managed to get so many developers on board with using those features because that's what was lacking with Xbox this last generation. It's so weird saying last gen because not everyone's moved on to this current gen like yourself. But that was the big thing is they didn't take advantage of those rumble triggers, like they're putting the rumble in the triggers.
Because I'm going to throw this in now because what a lot of PS fanboys don't realise is that the Elite controller has haptic feedback in the controller, but no one made anything of it. No one cared. It wasn't a thing until Sony did it, and then it suddenly became a next gen feature. So I just want to put that in.
There was a couple of I mean they've got the better rumble now. They've got the better rumble quality in the Sony one, but Xbox definitely had it first. They don't have the weird triggers, which I'm fine with, because if you're stupid, you can easily break them. But they've still got the rumbling in them, and there are only a couple of actual games on Xbox's side that actually took advantage. I remember playing Forza Motorsports 5 in 2013 at a demo before they actually released the consoles in New Zealand. And I got to test that out, and when you were hitting the accelerator and hitting the brake, you could really feel the way the tires were moving in the sense of the way they fine-tuned the rumble in them. Like you could tell when you were on tarmac, and you could tell when you were braking or when you had gone off the road. And no one really stuck with that last generation. And the reason being because everything, like the main lead for multiplats and stuff was Sony in the sense like that was where the target audience was, and they didn't have that feature. So it just meant they had to put more development time to do that for Xbox when they could just release the game and it would be like, I guess, parity with the PlayStation. Now PlayStation has these the similar features or somewhat the same features, or maybe somewhat slightly improved over what Xbox did because they waited a little bit longer and they've used a better rumble. You're getting a lot more developers buying into it, but what I want to hear is on Xbox's side, are the developers also doing the same for Xbox games, like Crash Bandicoot game for the Series X? Are they going to be implementing the or taking advantage of those rumble triggers?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Sorry, I talk so much.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I think about the DualSense, firstly, they need to be careful with hyping up the DualSense, the ability, the power of the DualSense controller, because two things. One is its issues, and because as we know, it's already had questions raised about its battery life. It's got really low battery life. But secondly,
it does.
Most recently, is Sony being sued for its drifting. It's getting loads of issues. People reporting drifting issues. And this is PS gamers. This was a thing Sony put on. I don't know a video on it. Sony done a feedback report on their DualSense, and it's come back. A lot of people. No, it's not Xbox players. It's not people. Just general people complaining. This is PS gamers doing feedback on the PS5 console regarding the DualSense controller is drifting, and I've done a video on it, and there's people they've recorded it, and it's got drifting issues, and apparently Sony was aware of these drifting issues before the controller was launched, but just ignored it and released it anyway.
Into both of those side marks. So you said two things.
So
let's delve a bit further into that. The battery life first. So Xbox touts generally a 40-hour battery life, especially in the Elite Controller
Yep.
2. I can't remember what you could. For the Elite Controller 1, you just plugged in a rechargeable battery pack or whatever you had, and you can get anywhere between 20 to 40 hours.
Yeah.
Duelsense 4, 8 hours if you were lucky.
Yeah.
If you'd had it for too long, 6 hours.
Yep.
If your
2
controller was a lot
hours
older, because
is some people have only got 2 hours out of it. Two
yeah, some
hours
people,
using haptic feedback.
yeah. So looking at the milliamp, and I can't remember what they are, but the DualSense 5, oh, whatever, DualSense 5,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call it, is it a 5? Yeah, I think
I
so.
ain't got a clue.
Um,
Duelsense.
has
I lost track of them.
so both Xbox and PlayStation have horrible naming faculties, guys.
Yeah.
But it has a higher milliamp than the rechargeable battery packs, the
Yep.
AA batteries that you just put in for reusable, and even the one that's built in 40-hour battery life in the Elite controller. Um, so it's got a higher battery life, a life expectancy, and how long the battery should technically last.
Yeah.
Do you know how much it actually lasts, Elite,
Of the Elite
with the
controller,
DualSense 5?
DualSense 5.
On average, do you know how long it actually lasts?
I would say about 4 hours.
No, you it's a range. So on average, you're looking at about 12 hours.
Oh,
Engaging the all the features of the DualSense knocks it down dramatically. Some
yeah.
people have said they might get 4 hours out of it. Some
Yeah, that's what I mean
people,
about haptic,
I
yeah.
guess it also depends how much the game is actually utilizing the
Mm.
features of the controller. So it just eats battery life, and people were touting this amazing battery life, going, "Hey, it's got a better battery life than the one in the Elite controller." But the Elite controller will last up to 40 hours.
Yeah.
You can't say that about the
No.
DualSense. You can't say that at all.
It's cheap. It's
That
cheap.
is the difference.
It's cheaply made. I'm sorry, but it's been cheaply made and they've been misled. But
Yeah.
we've gone off again.
But what
That's
was the
another
second one?
story.
I'm happy to go off, but what was the second one you said about
The
I've
drifting on it.
totally
The drifting issues.
yeah, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but both companies have both got class action lawsuits about all three actually. Nintendo, PlayStation, and Microsoft all have class action lawsuits
Yeah.
in relation to stick
But
drift
there is a major difference, and the difference is,
yeah,
firstly, Sony were aware of the issues and didn't do anything
yep,
because the same issues are carried on from the DualSense 4 on the PS4, which I think is what it's called. And the testers tested the DualSense 5 and would let Sony know, but Sony didn't act on it. They just released it anyway. And then secondly, what was my other point going to be? I forgot. Right. And
I think my point to that
oh no,
is
secondly is
look
that
at the
they're not refunding people, are they? They're charging for
That's what I was
refunds.
going to talk
Yeah,
about.
that
I
is
was
it.
going to talk about the
They were
customer
charging for
service
refunds,
behind it. Yeah.
which
Um,
Microsoft just we've had Elite controllers and they've broke, and they replaced them free of charge. But Sony
well,
actually
we have
charging to replace their own broken controllers. That is just
well,
awful.
in most countries they have like a consumer guarantee type act or something along the consumer side of thing, or the system has a warranty.
Yeah,
So I think I talked about in a previous podcast that my Series X controller, and I won't really use it because it's more of a collector's item. Like I have my original Day One 2013 edition, I have my Scorpio edition, I have a Titanfall edition, and then I have this, and I have Sea of Thieves edition, and some other controllers. But what happened with my one? Mine wasn't even stick drift. Mine just suddenly didn't recognize power anymore, and it completely died. So like I contacted Xbox support. It was under warranty, perfectly fine. They paid to get someone to take that controller. So all they did was send me out the slip. I printed it off, and then I uh, sent it away. So like I printed it off, and then someone came and picked it up. I didn't have to pay for this. This is
yeah,
all on Microsoft. They all paid for this. Xbox paid for this. Um, they sent me back a new controller free of charge, and this is all done in the space of like a week. Finished in a week. I didn't have to do anything other than
yeah,
just print that form up, send it away in a box, and like wrap it up. Um, and there was no other issue. They didn't ask anything. They didn't say, "Hey, can you pay for the shipping back?" And that's what I'm hearing. Is that what you're hearing on the Sony side? Is that they're asking for
yeah,
people to pay for the shipping?
yeah,
You
yeah.
you want it back?
Yeah,
It's
you want
ridiculous.
your controller back, you have to pay for it. What? No, and the other thing I was going to touch on as well is that when your controller broke, did it break over time? Because the problem with the DualSense 5s is that they're being unboxed and they're drifting basically from launch. People are unboxing them, and from the get go, they're already drifting before you've even started using them. They're drifting. Whereas,
Experienced like with that controller, I hadn't used it much, so it was obviously faulty. But I have had a stick drift before in my first Elite, but I have got so many hours on that game. Like,
exactly, I've had
I mean,
drifting.
on that controller, to the
Yeah,
point where like all my sticks feel very loose and very much like
yeah. I think,
I've really thrashed that thing to death.
yeah.
But
I think all controllers
no,
after a
it
while get
was never
drifting,
right away.
but it's after you've put hours and hours into it. But
I would,
these controllers actually are unboxed and they're drifting from being unboxed. They're
yeah, no, I've never run into
opened.
that issue
No,
ever.
exactly. And I think that's where Sony are in trouble because that is wrong. That is weird.
Yeah.
That's cheap and lazy. So, and that's where I think they're coming back, Sony. That's where I
Well,
think
isn't there
for the
any quality
PS5 is the
control
same.
and
I think
testing before it gets
yeah,
shipped to go,
there
hey, double
was.
check, we've built this controller, does it work?
No, that's what I was
Do they
saying
not
earlier.
test
That's what I
it?
said. The quality control highlighted the drifting issues to Sony, and Sony didn't pursue it. They relaunched it anyway. That's what I said in my video. Yeah,
Well, I
they was
also think
highlighted
that
by
they were
quality
very
control that there's
quiet.
drifting problems, and they just Sony went up. Yeah, just sell it. Just fucking get it out there.
But by the way, Elite, I added another subject to our chat, so this is
Oh,
going to be a long podcast.
hello. Right, so
I'll tell you at the end.
this we're
But
waffling now. So this because
yeah, we
this
are.
is
Let's
going to
go
go on
back.
for
So, what did you
hours now.
think about? I know you said that.
Because
What did
we've
you
gone
think of
20
State
minutes.
of Play first
We was only going to state of play for 20 minutes. Now we're already 20 minutes in already. So, state of
You and
play.
I can talk for hours. But
We
what was your
bear in
thoughts of
mind,
State of Play?
people.
Because I know
Bear
you
in
said you
mind,
skipped
we was
over it.
talking for about an hour and a half before this. We was talking for an hour and a half, talking about what
Yeah,
we're
we
going to talk
were.
about.
I know we didn't even talk about what we were going to talk
I
about,
know.
because you and I always talk about it,
We
and
just
then
about,
we miss it. We talked about everything but,
yeah, we
to
covered the
be honest, we just
holidays,
had a
everything we're
big massive
doing.
catch
Yeah,
up.
the price of ever, the pets. Right. So okay, this right. Let's just focus.
Traveling, because we can't travel in this pandemic.
Where was
Yeah.
we?
But anyway,
So
what were your
games,
thoughts on State of Play?
state of
'Cause-
play. Right, okay. In a nutshell, it was rubbish. It was if I wanted to buy, if you just look at it this way, if you didn't own a console and you wanted to buy a console and then you had sort of an image of Xbox Series X, an image of PS5, and then you had this show, for example, to show off PS5, would you have watched that and thought, yes, I want to buy a PS5 after that show? You would not have done that. You would not have done.
kind of like, I'm
Even
glad
if
I
you
where
know
I spent my money.
PS5, yeah, even if you know PS5 and you follow them, you bought a PS4 and everything, that would not have made you buy a PS5. Watching that was awful. It was just
Probably would have made me stick with a PS4.
yeah,
Um,
because
I don't even have
the
PS4.
majority of games were multiplats. Majority of games were multiplats. Majority of games were smaller titles, indies, which Xbox gets slated for as Game Pass fodder. A lot of the games were just indie little titles, and their big hitters were absent. God of War was absent. Ratchet and Clank was absent. Gran Turismo was absent. Did it show Horizon Zero Dawn too? It didn't, did it?
It was a filler show. That's what I feel like.
It was
It
a
was
filler.
people calling out for the fact that they hadn't heard from PlayStation
Yeah.
in ages, and so PlayStation was like,
So
"Oh, we've
so
got some little things that
so
are coming. Let's kind of
yeah. It was like
let's
some
kind of
guy
start
work.
off the year a little bit quiet, and then we'll
Yeah.
build up further into the year,
Well, I
because they
hope
do
so.
have quite a few
People keep saying that. People,
releasing."
yeah. It was almost like
Um,
some guy working from home said, "I'll tell you what, I'll just make up a filler program and I'll release that." And so we're like, "Yeah, just do that." And then he went, "Yeah, okay,
so
bish
were
bash
there any
bosh, here we go."
standout games
Right.
for you?
Okay. Yeah. So you was gonna list off the games. Do you just want to run through the games just
Yes.
quickly? Just run through
Yeah, we
them.
will.
Yeah.
Well, and then at the end of it, we'll just discuss out of
Yeah.
one from 1 to 10 what we actually thought of
Yeah.
it.
We
I know
won't.
you thought it was
Yes.
rubbish, but
We won't talk about
you'll give
each
it,
individual
you'll
game.
give it a value. But
Just
Crash
run through the
Bandicoot
games.
was the first one.
Yeah.
Crash
Yawn.
Bandicoot.
Yawn.
PS5 version was announced.
Yeah.
And it was really just maybe. up-res, better lighting, and then really just implementation. Like frame rate obviously would be a big thing, but implementation of the PS5 features in the DualSense. That's what I took away from
Which
it.
is
Is that
fine
what
if
you
you don't
took
want to
away
play the
from
game longer than 2 hours. Next.
it? Um, Returnal.
Yeah.
Um, I actually was pleasantly surprised with this in the sense like I got a bit more of a feeling of what the gameplay would be like and what sort of game it would be. It's not my game, honestly. It's not my type of game.
I want to see more of
It
that.
would probably
Need to see
creep me
more.
because it's quite dark. I like the idea of the shooting and the lights and the way the gameplay works and the way that the fact that when you die and you come back to life, the world is different
Yeah.
and you can't just go, oh, there's a bad guy over there because it might not be there anymore. And if it is, it might not be just one, it might be in, excuse me, bigger numbers. So you don't know what you're walking into. And every time you restart the game, you've got a very different play and feel to it
Yeah.
in the
That's
way that
that's
you
been done
progress through it.
before though. So I want to see.
Yes,
I
it
want to
has.
see. Yeah, lots of time. So I want to see a bit more from that game. So, well, what
Yep.
else was there? What else was there?
Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach.
Yeah.
Ah,
Move on.
this just honestly, when I know we'll move on in a second, but the original showing of that trailer last year, I was actually a bit more impressed. This current showing of the trailer, I was
Yeah.
actually really unimpressed with the
They're
graphics.
all on
Like,
Game
yes, there
Pass
was
as well. These games,
pretty
aren't
reflection on the floor and stuff. It just didn't look like I was like, this is a PS5 game. I don't
they?
feel that
Yeah.
PS5 ness that
Yeah.
everyone's
No.
talking about that you're definitely
I
gonna
think
feel. I
it's a
didn't feel that with
PS4
this
slash
game.
PS5. And also, all these games, Five Nights at Freddy games, all of them are on PS Game Pass right now. If anyone's is
I
interested
just,
to see what it's
it
about,
just
you can play all the games on Game Pass. So
Yeah, I didn't get anything from that, and I was just like, well, I don't like horror, so but
yeah,
even then I was like, I could play this. But I think it's just not my cup of tea. I wasn't
nah,
impressed with the trailer actually.
nah,
It actually looked more disappointing than the original showing of it, in my opinion.
yeah.
Um, well, the next one, this is not an order, guys. I didn't get the order right. But Oddworld Soulstorm. So it's the next game in the franchise.
This is the
What did you
Alienese,
think of that?
the
This is
Alien
that weird
side
one where
scroller, isn't
you
it?
2.5D whatever. That's that weird scroller. I don't know what it is. Where you have to try and save your little Oddworld characters.
Yeah, this is
Um,
this. Yeah, when I originally see
this is the
this
Snorefest.
remind me of Lemmings, where you've sort of got to guide your people to places, but they can all die and stuff like that. Yeah, I was never the graphically looks fine, and they obviously it's got a lot of
It's definitely an
cutscenes to give a bit of
improvement.
story. Yeah, but it's a free game now on PS Plus, which
Yeah,
PS
PS Plus.
Plus
Yeah.
is their subscription service like Game Pass. So you do have to pay for it. You have to subscribe to it. So yeah, that's fine, but it's not
Well,
really a free game. But
isn't it going day and date? And
yeah, it's going day and date PS.
it's going
So
day and date.
I guess yeah, so I guess whatever the subscription of PS Plus is, yeah, it's fine. But is
Well,
it a
I
big
guess
game? No. Is it something you'd
no.
buy it, or is it something that gets hyped? No, it's
Well,
not.
it would be what we would consider Game Pass fodder,
Yeah,
and if the way
exactly.
we
It
look
would be that. It would
the gaming
exactly be that.
community
That would be the perfect
refers to
example of
not
it.
yeah.
It's a game
Um,
you'd have a look at
and
and go, yeah, that's fun. Done. Next.
but you look at this game going day and day, and you're starting noticing a trend. They did it. They
Yeah,
did what was that? Oh, Fall Guys day and date. They've done Destruction All Stars day
yeah,
and date.
yeah.
They're doing Oddworld Soulstorm day and date. Doesn't that sound a bit like Game Pass? And didn't
Yeah.
Jim Ryan say that they
Jim
were going to do something
Jim
similar to Game Pass, but
Jim
it'd be
Lion
their
Ryan,
variation?
Jim Lion Ryan, as I call him, he said that. He said we are going to copy. Pretty much, he said. I sort of
Jim Hairpiece Ryan.
misquote him, but he did along the lines say we are going to copy Game Pass basically. So
Yeah,
and that's what they're doing.
that's us taking it slightly and just making it into our own words. He didn't
No,
virtually say that, but he said there would be a PlayStation
we're making
variation
our
or equivalent
equivalent. We're making our own equivalent.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna make
So
their own version.
which which
A- And I
yeah, it
think we're
means they're
starting to
copying
see
it.
that.
They're going to copy it. They realise the
And I
success of Game
think
Pass because PS Plus is
yeah,
poo.
and we're gonna talk more about this later on when we talk about PlayStation games coming to PC. But I think we'll talk about it later on. I'll
Yeah,
move along. Oddworld Soulstorm, you and I both didn't care for it.
yeah,
There was nothing new. We'd seen it before. We'd seen showed Returnal before, Five Nights at
yeah.
Freddy's before. Crash
Done.
Bandicoot had already released.
We've
It's
seen the
just now
old worlds actually in every
released for
single old
PS5.
world game. We've seen it every single event they've showed.
That was
Actually,
shown at
we've seen a
was it the
lot.
June
Yeah, we've seen
event?
that 3 or 4 of times. Yeah. So
Um, one of the other games that they showed was Solar Ash. And do you want to talk about that one?
No, go on.
No, you don't. I do have something to say to this. So I think
Alright.
last year when we talked about their June reveal, they'd shown Solar Ash, and I had said it actually made me feel a bit like Zelda or something along those
Yeah.
lines, like the art style and the music, and I got a very distinctive um impression of it.
Is that the
And
one you
then
said you liked the look of?
and I quite
Yeah.
liked it, and I was intrigued by it, and I wanted to know more about it. Complete opposite. I saw more about this. I'm not interested in the game. I now don't care about the game.
God.
I saw the style of the gameplay, and I was like, this is totally not for me. I don't care about scaling around and following those little things. Like,
No.
I was just like, thank you, next. I was really
Like
intrigued,
a
and
platformer.
I was like,
Yeah.
yes, I'm going to see more on it. And then what they
Mm,
showed, I was like, I don't give a shit.
yeah.
I
Well done,
was like,
Sony.
I'm actually now turned off it. It's not
Yeah, I remember you
my
saying you
style of
liked it.
game
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Whereas I said I wasn't interested in the first place, and I'm still not, and I'm glad that
You were right. I should have
yeah,
listened.
you should listen. I knew it'd be misleading the first time they showed it around. Go on, then, what else is there? What else you got?
There was that Dodge game, the Knockout City one. They're like you play like multiplayer dodgeball. I love dodgeball in real life, guys. So I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And then I saw it. I was like, yeah, nah.
Yeah, nah. Yeah, nah.
Sorry, that's my Kiwiism
Yeah, I
coming
know.
out. Yeah, nah.
It's a Kiwi, yeah, nah.
I was
So,
like, yeah, I see what it is. Nah, it's not for me.
so what else? What else we got? Yeah, nah. Yeah.
Thanks. But yeah, you didn't have any thoughts on it. I
No,
just didn't like the art style.
I'm
In
not going to
theory,
discuss
I thought the
dodgeball.
game would be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and then I saw it. I was like, nah,
Yeah.
definitely not worth it. We've got so many games like that now.
Yeah.
They're trying to corner a market and then find a niche section of that market and go for it.
They're trying to do
I
something.
guess
They're trying to do what Xbox are doing, where Xbox is sort of probing certain markets like what's it called, MOBAs, and Xbox are doing the same. They're trying to just probe different markets and see if they can get something popular. Like it did with Bleeding Edge, they want to get a MOBA. Well, that's not working. Our own this, our own that. I think Sony think, oh yeah, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should try. And I think that's not on a good. That's just yeah. They shouldn't have chose this
the,
game to be that. Yeah,
we've got two more games to talk about.
go.
Yeah, they shouldn't have shown it.
I know one of them I did
And
like,
I guess
so you
one
mentioned
of them you did like.
you've
Yes,
not
we're going to talk
mentioned it
about
yet.
that one.
Yep.
I liked it too. I liked the art style. I liked everything else about it. If you don't know what we're talking about,
Is it
it's
tofu?
seafood. I'm pretty sure
Seafood?
seafood.
Seafood?
SIFU.
Tofu?
Yeah, seafood. I see food and
Fuck
I
you.
eat it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Seafood. You can talk about that one. I've been talking this whole time.
No, yeah. So when I watch the state of play, what I generally do with state of plays is because they're really boring. Is that I sort of grab my YouTube bar at the bottom and then drag it along until I see something I like.
Yeah,
And
or
that's
until you
what I
see
did.
something new and you're like, oh, I'll have a look.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, seen that, seen that, seen that, seen that. Oh, this is new. So basically,
Oh
this is
yeah.
what I've done. So yeah, I stopped on this, and this game actually looked good. It reminded me of kind of like what is the game? The Accuser, the old Accuser. It's made by Absolver, is it? The guys who done is
I
it
don't
called
know.
Absolver? On Xbox, it
No
was on
idea.
Game Pass, role. It's called it's called Absolver. Did you play Absolver?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
It was a game. It was on game. It's like a martial arts game, and you walk around. It was quite interesting. It's very hard though. Imagine, I always said, imagine Street Fighter, but you've got all that combat technique and moves and stuff, but in a game where you can sort of walk around and in an
Hmm.
open world. So imagine Street Fighter with all those combos, but in an open world game. That's what
Oh,
Absolver was basically. It was
oh,
hard. I
okay.
liked the
I think I
game.
know the game you're
The
talking about. I
martial
didn't
arts was
play
good.
it
The
though.
game was enjoyable, but it's very hard to get into. So it's made by the same developers as that.
Oh, yeah.
But obviously this has gone to a next stage up because that was a bit weird, that game anyway. But this is obviously they thought
Hmm.
they've took more of a Yakuza style setting to it and added that to it. So I thought this looked potentially it could be good. However, we've got to remember this is only a AAA studio and
Only a
um,
trailer.
only a trailer. So we've got to and looking at it, though it looks good and it can be fun, you can see it getting very repetitive after a while. That was the problem with Absolver. You can see it. You just
I think
you can
I
see
think
it
when you look at it,
getting
you
repetitive with no
it's
main.
either gonna be
They didn't show. They didn't show any cutscenes. They didn't seem to show any story to it or anything. It was basically you
yeah.
go along, you fight, and what I can gather from it, when you die, you get older, you return, um,
That's
and
what
but
I
he's
picked
got
up on
yeah,
it,
and he's
and
got
that
a
wasn't
beard.
clear, but
He
that's
so
what I
he said he
understood.
got old. He got older each time he died, didn't he?
Time
Did you notice
passes
that?
every time you
Yeah,
die.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so and that just seems to be the story of it. It seems to be like, oh no,
Well,
you've got limited lives. Every time you die, you get older. You die and you get older, and it
well,
probably gets harder
what?
and harder. And
Yeah.
as a
Well,
story, that's not really. Is that the plot? Is that the story that you just got to get through it without getting older
no
and
idea.
dying? So other than that, it
I
didn't really show a story to it or plot to it at all, did it?
No, I think like with those type of fighting games, it's either going to be intuitive, and then trying to find a balance between that, and then having the complexity and having a learning curve to it. So they have to
Yeah,
find a decent balance to not kind of alienate certain parts of the gaming market. So they don't want to alienate people who don't like fighting games but want to give it a go,
yeah,
and then they have to try and find the people who like the fighting games who want a bit more complexity. So I think that's where what I saw in the trailer was there is going to be that side to it where it looks like there will be some complexity, but they must need to find a balance of
yeah,
not alienating any of the potential gaming base in that regard or the gaming community. So I think when we find more about it, we'll get an understanding of sort of who this game is targeted at sort of what level of gamer you are, and how easy it is for a gamer like yourself or myself
yeah.
to actually enter into it and give it a go. Because we at this stage, I don't know, is it a PlayStation exclusive or is it timed exclusive?
No mention of
Or
it, was
is it
there?
just
I don't think.
is
Yeah.
it just announced on PlayStation, but it's coming to Xbox or Steam or Nintendo? So they weren't clear. So
Nah.
I mean, I think if it was only coming to PlayStation, I think that then that's like one of those games where I'd be like, yeah, cool. If I get a PlayStation, I'll
Yeah.
definitely pick that game up. Because I prefer to game on console rather than on PC.
Yeah.
I like RTS games on
To
PC,
be
and that's
if
kind of strategy games.
yeah, using
But
using
art,
memory, as I say, using memory, Absolver was a timed exclusive to PlayStation, so this is probably going to be a timed
gonna
exclusive.
be a time
Yeah, so I'd imagine it
like
is.
just looking at the,
Yeah,
the what they've done in the past.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just following suit, I imagine this will be timed as well. So yeah,
Yeah. Well,
probably will
I
release
thought
on
the
PS5 and
art
eventually come to
style
Xbox.
was really good. I thought I
Yeah,
liked how the hitting looked very fluid
it
and
did.
fast, and
Which is
it felt like
Absolver. It's
you
Absolver,
had
the game.
impact.
If you're part of
It felt like
Absolver,
it had
yeah,
impact, and even
yeah,
using the controller, because that's where you get that immersion between you and just seeing a 2D image with no, or 3D image with no sort of impact. You get that
yeah,
feedback from the controller, and you feel like your actual moves are having some impact. Um, and I felt like even just looking at the images and the way they'd done it, you definitely get that feeling like you're a badass when fighting. But yeah, I agree. Like the whole, from my understanding, you get defeated and some time passes. It looked like you also sort of lost your mind in bits and pieces. Like there was that craziness in the shot. So
yeah.
who knows? I thought that was in my opinion, that was the highlight of the whole show would be Sifu, and I think everyone's kind of taken that away.
Tofu, yeah, tofu.
So
Agree.
Sifu,
Seafood,
Sifu. I don't actually know how. See,
chauffeur.
we don't even know how to pronounce it. I'd have to rewatch the trailer to pronounce it.
Yeah. What? Actually, I
Because
think
I always
I
thought
believe I believe it's a Japanese word for master. I believe. I think, or is it Chinese?
Sifu, Sifu. I don't know. I don't know.
I
I would
believe
say
it's a.
Japanese. I feel like
Yeah, I think it's.
I don't
I
know.
think it might be a Japanese word for master.
Um,
But anyway, what's the last game that we
the
did
last
mention?
game, the Final Fantasy VII remake, which is going to be they announced the PS5 version. Lighting looks a lot better. Everything else looks a lot better. And if you bought it on PlayStation 4 Pro, then you get a free upgrade to play it on PS5. But they also announced this integrate, which had like some additional chapters with some additional story from some like two other characters or just one other character. Um, and then if you get it, the PS5 version, you have to pay for integrate on top of that.
Yeah,
What were your thoughts on this? This was just boring to me. I was like,
yeah,
why the hell
boring.
are we talking about this? I thought they
Firstly,
were going to announce the next chapter.
yeah, firstly, I don't care for Final Fantasy. It's got to be the most milked, one of the most milked franchises in history.
It's coming out in like October, isn't it?
Yeah. Secondly, it's just awful that Sony are so lazy they can't be bothered releasing first party games or even buying third party games. Instead, now they continue to buy exclusive content from games, from microplat games, which is just frustratingly anti-consumer and horrible and greedy, which is makes me more want Xbox to make ZeniMax games exclusive just for this reason, because Sony just keep being anti-consumer and anti-gaming. That it's just horrible. They buy exclusive content from games, but
Yeah.
also, have they not learnt from Avengers when they got exclusive content for Spider-Man? And look what happened to Avengers. The game absolutely bombed and died. But yet, how
Mm.
much money they pay for exclusive content for Spider-Man? They must have. Who made the Avengers game? Who was that? That was uh
Square Enix.
Square Enix. So they must have went Square Enix. Square Enix, can we have Spider-Man as an exclusive character on PlayStation? Square Enix must have said, yeah, can you give us £1 million? Sony went, yeah, sure, because I'm sure this game's going to be a massive hit. Here's £1 million. Game bombed, and Sony were like, oh, by the time we get the Spider-Man content, nobody will be playing this game. It'd be dead as nothing.
No one is playing this game.
Yeah, yeah, nobody. Yeah, and this is gonna be the same. It's gonna be the same situation. They've thrown money as sort of as a filler, as a Game Pass filler,
See what
on a
sticks.
on a game that nobody's gonna be probably playing.
Well,
Just
um,
put your just put your
I
money into
I thought
first
they
party games, mate.
I
Third
thought
party
they
at
missed a
least.
huge opportunity during the state of play to really just start dropping things.
Yeah,
Didn't have to be big. I guess the highlight of this was the sci-fi seafood thieves. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know how to. Whatever. They could have easily announced a teaser for the second chapter or the second part of Final Fantasy VII Remake,
yeah,
and then just said, "Hey, by the way, there's you also get the PS5 version free if you bought the original
yeah.
B for Seven Final Fantasy VII version on PlayStation 4 and Pro." That
Mm.
could have just been a side comment that they could have added in. Because when is the second chapter coming? Because what the original game was done in 3 discs, and they've only done like the first disc worth of content, from my understanding, from what I think I understand, because I'd never played the original. Um, and it's on Game Pass, so I should probably do it, or it's on Xbox, so I should probably play the original. Um, but I thought they missed a huge opportunity because there is a massive fan following for Final Fantasy 7. I'm not a Final Fantasy fan at all, so
No,
I'm
no,
on the same
okay.
boat with you. But
Yeah,
that has a huge, massive following, especially on Sony's side of things, like huge following, and they could have easily just said, "Hey, this is coming," like it's coming, and then just kind of announced it. I mean,
I,
people know they're working on
yeah,
it, but why don't you just announce it as a teaser, something, anything? And they missed that huge opportunity. This state of play could have been like this low key success, minus the other rubbish that was on it.
oh, that's the other thing.
Um,
Isn't it exclusive to PS5? So they're also screwing over their PS4 fan base.
Integrate, that wasn't very clear, and that's what I've said about Sony's
Yeah,
messaging. It wasn't
yeah,
clear. Like
because they like to
Integrate, you can
mislead.
buy it.
Yeah,
If you want to upgrade to the PS5 version, it's probably going to be available to PS4. Who knows? Because it's just like additional chapters with another character's story in it a little
yeah,
bit. Um, but I think that's to. I was just like, why bother? I mean, thanks for the PS5 free upgrade, which
yeah,
is awesome and very consumer friendly. Because that's surprising. But I was just like, what was the point of this? I was
yeah,
super disappointed when people were talking about Final Fantasy VII, because I didn't get to watch it live. I was like, oh, cool, they'll be announcing the next chapter. Nah. And then when I found
yeah,
out they weren't announcing it, it was just the PS5 version and this a little bit of additional
yeah,
DLC, essentially. I was like, this was rubbish.
yeah. And how much you pay? So how much you give? How much money did you give them for that? This is money you should be reserving for new first party IPs or just games or just throwing at budgets or just making your console work. Not just
So,
throwing at trash like this. This is what I said
so
before about.
overall,
Um, overall,
you. you skipped through most of the stuff that was rubbish, and there was a lot of it. They
Yep.
had 5 games shown. Obviously, things we were already aware of, like maybe what 2 games that we hadn't seen
Yeah.
before, which was the
Yeah.
Dodge and the other one,
Shufu.
the Sifu,
Yeah.
Saifu. What was out of 1 to 10? What would you rate the state of play?
4. 4.
You're less generous than me. I probably would have given it a 5, and only because I was thoroughly impressed with Saifu as a
Right.
game. And I
I,
did like the Returnal idea. I liked it more than anything I've seen of it to date.
I think you should play Observe. Is it? It might be on Game Pass. I don't know. Still, but I
It
think you should.
was.
But
I'm
I
pretty
think
sure
you
it
maybe you
was.
should play that and then see what you think because it's basically the same game. So
Yeah.
give that a go. Should I?
But uh, yeah, I would have rated it a 5.
Because the
It
combat
was
is hard.
pretty
The
lackluster.
combat
This
is
this
hard.
whole
Yeah.
whole show.
So are
And
we?
I'm glad it wasn't hyped up. Imagine if it was hyped up.
Yeah. Well, no, it was hyped up by the fan base. The fan base hyped up as
Oh,
they do all their things.
I didn't see the
Yeah, I know.
hyping up of it.
Their fan
You
base
might have
hyped up.
seen it. I definitely didn't see it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't see it
because
because
because especially when there was talk about the ZeniMax event, and then there was hyping up saying State of Play is going to
what they've
destroy
said.
it, hyped it up, and then there's
Yeah, well, what
always
people have been saying about that ZeniMax Bethesda show
yeah.
is like, don't put your hopes up. Don't get high expectations. And I think it's smart to not give expectations and not go, hey, it's going to be this massive
I don't
thing
think
with
it'd be a
all these
massive thing.
games to show you, because let it lie and then come out and blow our brains to bits.
Well,
Don't tell us what's happening.
well, let's be honest here with the ZeniMax thing. They don't have
Excuse
to
me.
say anything. They could literally just say these games will be exclusive. That will be enough
They didn't
hype in
have to say
itself. They don't
anything.
have to show anything or do anything. If they just went on, if Phil went out on stage, went and just said, literally just said, the show,
All games are exclusive.
these games are exclusive, and then dropped the mic and walked off stage, that would be enough. That would be enough.
Yep.
He wouldn't have to show
The
any
community
games or
would go
anything. The
insane.
community that show would be bigger than State of Play if he literally just walked out and said, "Yes,
Well,
all ZeniMax games are exclusive. Good night,"
they
and
had
walked off.
they
That would
had one of the
just blow
biggest.
anything.
I mean, we last year we had 2 consoles releasing, right? We had the
Yeah,
PS5 and then we had the Series consoles
yeah,
releasing, the Xbox Series console.
yeah,
The biggest mic drop moment last year, other than the pandemic,
yeah,
was the ZeniMax acquisition.
yeah,
That
yeah,
outshone Xbox and PlayStation 5 release, in my opinion.
yeah. It did. Oh, it
Because
did.
that hit
Yeah,
everyone. That shocked Nintendo fans. That shocked PlayStation fans.
yeah.
That shocked
It was a
Xbox
massive
fans.
shockwave.
That shocked PC Master Race fans.
Yeah,
That shocked
yeah,
mobile
yeah,
fans. Like, it was insane, the ramifications that acquisition had.
yeah. To the point
Mm.
where Xbox is now like in places like the UK, Xbox Series X is outselling PS5, and UK in Europe has always been a PlayStation
Yeah.
market. It's always led. PlayStation's always led in the UK. For the first time, the Xbox Series X has led. So, what's that tell you?
Yeah.
It's a massive shockwave. So, as I said, the show, if people, I don't think Xbox fans have got their hopes up that much because what have you got your hopes up for? You know what games they could possibly show, so there's nothing to get your hopes up about. The only thing that's on everyone's tongues and everyone's waiting to hear is what if these games will be exclusive, and that is the only mic drop they've got moment. So I don't care what they show. They don't. They can show me nothing. It can literally be a clear stage with Phil walking out and saying these games are exclusive. He drops a mic,
Thank
and
you.
then
Good night.
he just slowly moonwalks backwards into a cloud of
They don't
smoke.
even need to have an event for that. They just need to put something up on Xbox Wire, and then
Yeah,
everyone's brains would melt.
yeah, and then just and just and he
Not
just
the not
and he
not the
just
fans who already know what's going on.
yeah, and he just sort of slides off the side, does a sort of gangster sign, and says "your mum," and then bosh,
Yeah. Right,
your
not the
mama,
mic. Like,
yeah, word to your
right.
mother.
Biggest
It just
joke.
says that,
Biggest joke of 2021.
and that's it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that'll do it for me.
I think that wraps up the state of play stuff. Do you have anything else you want to add to that? I mean, we both were disappointed
I
by
could
it.
talk about it all day
I
because
mean,
it's
there
the
would.
most incredible show ever in my life, ever.
You and I could talk about it and just pull it to bits because you and I both were like, "What is this? Like,
Yeah,
why?"
yeah,
Because I 100% knew that they were going to show stuff we'd already seen.
yeah. I was like, Oddworld.
Um,
Yeah, I've not seen any of that for at least an hour.
but
Yeah,
I also think like they're holding so much back because they don't know what's coming from Xbox.
I don't know if they are
And they
holding back.
need no, I think they are
I don't know
holding
if they
back to some
are.
degree because I think they have to keep the momentum going for PlayStation. I think they have to keep people engaged and wanting to stay in that
They've
ecosystem.
already kept
So
people
they're making sure
engaged
that
by lying to them, by
I
telling
think
them that their biggest AAA exclusives are released in 2021. They've already kept people engaged
RDNA
by
3,
lying.
guys.
Yeah,
RDNA 3.
please buy a
Actually, they
console.
didn't make that lie. Their own fan base made that
I
lie, or
thought
their toxic
Cerny.
fan base
Well,
made that
let's be
lie.
honest though, it was that what was his name, Red Tech Gaming, and Cerny hinted it as well, saying we've got our own blah blah blah.
Red Tech Gaming, and who's that other guy who's trying to distance himself from the RDNA 3 rubbish?
MBGQ.
No, he was
He
MBG
got
was
destroyed.
he came out and he said, "Hey, I made a like I messed up. I was just reporting on what other people had said,
No,
but it's
no one
Moore's
was
law
saying
is
that,
dead."
but nobody was saying it. Just him and Red Tech, and then all Sony fanboys copied it. So
Yeah, and then no, MBG was copying off Moore's law is dead. That guy,
oh
he
yeah,
was
that guy.
reporting on him.
Yeah, yeah,
So he and then Moore's law comes out and like throws him under the bus and goes,
yeah,
"I don't know where this came from. These guys were saying this stuff and misquoting me and da 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 da." I'm like, take the L, man. You
yeah.
were trying to
Sony
say that
fanboys
this was
just don't they? They're like snakes.
yeah,
They
yeah.
they just flip flop all over the place, and then they're quite happy to
And
eat
when
their
we
own.
talk
They're
about
cannibals, aren't
Sony
they? Yeah,
fanboys,
yeah.
we're not talking about Sony's actual proper fan base.
No,
Just like we're not talking about
no. Because
when we're talking
there's
about crazy fans
140
on
million of you.
Xbox's side, we're
We're
not
just
talking
talking
about
about
the
yeah.
Xbox.
We're just talking about the idiots.
Um,
Yeah,
we're not talking about the people who are level-headed actual fans and who can make up their own minds. We're
yeah.
talking about the toxic people who are so blinded
And copy
um,
paste.
by
Yeah.
by the company and by the brand that they can't see anything else.
Mm,
And for them, if their system is not winning, they have to drag you down.
yeah.
That's the fan base we're talking about. This
So
toxicity,
don't get
and
triggered.
they're very vocal on the PlayStation
Don't
side.
get
We do have
salty.
some vocal toxic fanboys on Xbox's side though, but they're so
Don't be
toxic and
triggered.
vocal on PlayStation.
Right.
I'm
Let's.
like so like fuck you. Sorry,
Yeah.
but that's what we're talking about. So when we're talking about these fanboys, or we're referring to that part of the fan base that really needs to put their heads down and just go back to what is important about gaming. Enjoying the games and letting other people enjoy the games. You and I both aren't big fans of PlayStation. We've never lied about that. We're big Xbox fans. I'm not going to sit here and pull apart everything and tell everyone that you should be gaming on Xbox. It's your choice. I can talk about the games that I like and that I don't like, and it happens to be that a lot of them are on the Sony side. But I'm not going to turn around and go, your system's trash because da 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 da. I'm just going to try and be factual and talk to the points of what I understand about the systems. And you are the same, Elite. And then you do sometimes fall into the trolling people, but I get that. They troll us all the time, so it's time to give it back.
Sorry. I was playing next gen bug snacks. It's fantastic. No. I'm quite happy to call out Xbox when they just do, but and the consumers
I'm
things.
quite happy
The
to as
problem.
well, yeah.
I mean, I was the first to say they made the biggest mistake they made was of last generation was not the DRM thing because I never see an issue with that. That was
No,
never a
it
problem.
wasn't. I didn't see an issue with that.
That is
I knew
massively
where we were
overhyped.
heading internet wise.
When you compare the issues Xbox One had at launch with DRM with
Mm,
PS5, the problems it's had, but the media's couple just pasting over with all the issues. Whereas Xbox, they just threw them under a bus and everyone was stabbing them. DRM, you are evil. You're evil. Whereas PS5, all these problems are coming up here and there and all over the place, and the media's like, what? We don't see any problems. But yeah, I was the
yeah.
first to say things like where I thought Xbox
They got the benefit of the
dropped the
doubt all
ball.
the time.
Yeah, always. But where I said Xbox dropped the ball was giving up FIFA and Call of Duty to Sony. That's where they were stupid.
Yeah.
If I would love to have been on that in that market room when they said, "Yeah, we're going to give up FIFA and God of War marketing." I would have been like,
I
what? No,
I bet you
Call of Duty
it would
is a
have.
piece of pile of shit, but it's one of the biggest franchises in the world with
I
regard
bet
to
you when they
gaming.
were renegotiating that
FIFA's the biggest
contract.
sports game in the world. You
Yeah,
stupid? No.
when they were renegotiating those exclusivity deals,
Yeah.
it would have been we did so well last gen. We're not going to pay what you want us to pay,
Yeah.
type thing. Because that's what I felt was what happened with Xbox. They just got
Yeah.
so
They got
out of
arrogant.
touch.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, they
They
got
got
arrogant
arrogant,
as Sony do every year. They got arrogant
and,
as well.
and
We
then
don't need.
and then
We don't
they
need
go.
FIFA and COD. Yeah.
Yeah, they basically said, "Hey, we're not going to pay what you want us to pay for
Yeah.
this such and such," and then they said, "Fine, we'll go somewhere else,"
Yeah.
and Sony paid it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what would have. I say exactly. I don't know, but that's my idea of what
Yeah,
probably would have
that I
happened.
agree with you. That's what happened, and that's to me, that's where Xbox lost a massive loads because a lot of the people that own PlayStations that I know of don't care about exclusives. They're all like my daughter's boyfriend. All he plays literally is FIFA
It's
and
FIFA.
Call of Duty. Literally,
I
that is
feel
the only
sorry
two
for him.
games. Yeah, yeah. I told him I used to play FIFA. He said, "Do you play a Call of Duty?" I said, "I used to play competitively until
I played FIFA
the last
once,
generation,
and I got a
Call of Duty's
goal,
just
and I never played it again
yeah."
because I rested on my
And
laurels.
FIFA, I got bored of that when people started just when once you take the lead, they quit out the game, just quit, and it's just
Poor
yeah boring.
losers.
Yeah, exactly. They got, it's awful. The games are
We've gone
awful.
way off topic, by
We
the
have,
way,
yeah.
Elite.
Should we move on to the next topic? Should we stop it here? Move on to the
Yeah,
next
we
topic.
should totally move on to the next
Okay,
topic. You and I could talk for hours.
we can. We are just rubbish. So, right, so we're going to move on to our next topic. However, we sort of decided that we've already dragged it on too long. So, what we're going to do, we're going to make this part 1 of this episode, and we're going to do
Yeah.
a part 2. And in the part 2, we'll cover our other topics. And our other topics, Red Dead, we agreed were going to be,
Sony games coming to PC.
yep,
Talk about the new Xbox headset. We might
yep,
even mention VR, PlayStation. Who knows?
yep.
Sony's SSD, and they talk about the fan, so that's in there as well. And then I thought we might talk about the whole RDNA thing, and if you want, unless that's been done to death by the rest of the
RDNA
online
7,
community.
which the Switch 2 is going to use. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll cover that. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we decided. Yeah, so we're going to leave it here, and I hope you enjoyed the
Thank you for
show.
those who've listened this far.
Yeah, and look out for our part 2, which will be dropping in a day or two, which will be the second half of this podcast, which will have the rest of our um, subjects in it. So, should we have a quick outro then?
Please like like the thing if you liked it. If you want to hear more from
Like
us, let
stuff.
us know.
Yeah,
Like hitting the like button really lets us know if we're doing a good job or not.
yeah.
Mainly me. Hit the like if you like me on the podcast. Hit dislike if you want to get rid of a lead.
Don't do that because we'll get a lot of dislikes
Totally
because
joking.
a lot of people will dislike
Subscribe
me.
if you want to hear more content. If you wanna get notified, hit that notification bell for when we pop up a podcast or any of Elite's content really. And
Share it
like I
on
said,
Twitter. Swear your shout on Twitter.
share it,
Tell everyone.
comment as
Tell your
well.
friends.
And like I said, harass Elite in the comment section about actually getting his mic done. Because then once his mic's done, he's gonna sound even better.
Yeah, even better. And
But
shame it's not.
thank you for those who've listened so
Yeah.
far.
So thank you all for watching once more, and you'll hear from us in the next day or so. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye for now.
Bye, guys.